For those of you who are watching, we continue to ask you to send us your comment, keep sharing, and continue to help us subscribe so we can continue to grow. Uh, there's a need for Nyuki Podcast in our community, and we do receive all the feedbacks and all the review that you guys be sending our ways. Thank you. Welcome to this special edition of Nyuki Podcast. I'm your host, Pani. And
I'm Theo.
in the sake of Father's Day, the reason why I want to bring up Father's Day, the importance of Father's Day, fathers, is because I don't know if you saw what happened in Bronzeville, the high school.
No, I don't.
Two 18-year-olds are now facing charges in the attempted shooting near Burnsville High School just as the graduation ceremony let out. Abdullahi Ali and Abdi Kandi Abdi Wahab are both charged with several felonies, including a drive-by shooting. Court documents say police working security at the graduation heard gunfire near the school. When they arrived on the scene, documents say they found the two men in a car with a handgun and an extended magazine. Witnesses say someone pointed a gun out of the car window and started shooting after another person punched the car. Both men deny being the one to fire the shot.
The opportunity that this country has, and for some stupid stuff, you decide to throw all of that away, and you decide to grab a machine gun, a car, with an intention to knowing that the moment you start firing, it's gonna cost somebody's life.
So should we connect that or relate that to trauma?
It could be.
Okay.
Maybe I haven't got a background of the family structure yet. They haven't revealed that yet.
But
So because my thing, I wanted to speak on the fatherhood part effect of whether if the parent was involved in the life or not, knowing.
But we don't know that yet.
We don't know that yet.
Okay.
And that's why I wanted to connect that with the Father's Day coming, the importance of fatherhood in those boys' life. Because I think as a 18 years old, to me, mentally, they're still a child. They haven't fully grow up. Even though
So
age-wise.
I have a personal question, right?
Okay.
When we had an interview with Walter, you mentioned the last time you saw your father was
10.
at 10.
Yeah.
And let's assume that those kids don't have father. We're assuming, we don't know.
Okay.
How come at 18 you didn't pick up a machine gun just because you hadn't seen your father 8 years later?
Because I would say my mom was did not give up on us and was, I would say, a little bit strict on making sure that we were receiving all the education and everything that we needed so that we can stay on track.
Okay.
And
That's-
also, to add to that, also by investing the power of parenting within my siblings, my older sibling.
Okay.
So that kind of keep us in check.
So let's also assume that they have both parents.
Okay.
What do you think is that?
Then there's a parental failure. Then I would say it's a parental failure that especially from the parents' part, because I believe as an African and coming here, we come here with a different expectation, different baggage that we come here with that. And if you see an African kid decide to go off the rail and do something out of that norm, to me it's usually there's a they got some type of edge over the parent, lack of culture awareness, or lack of the parents language barrier, and lack of the parents ability to understand what's happening, what's going on in the neighborhood or in the life of the kids. That's why I will claim the parental failure at that moment. But to tie with that, that's why last time I said it's important that our religious leader keep on finding way to empower family, to empower parents to be able to keep on this culture of being strict, this culture of educating our youth, so that this cannot happen, continue happening, because there's a cycle that we have to break.
So I'm glad you brought up that word, cycle.
Okay.
I think it's a very complex thing, or a complex issue that we're seeing. Not only our generation, but also the younger generation, even the older generation.
Okay.
And now the older generation and some of our generation are not picking up guns. They're not running to certain things, substance abuse for comfort and other things. But we can still see those trauma, like the way we live with people, the way we now we becoming parents, the way before we became parents, the way we would live with our spouses, and also now we're becoming parents. Also, we are seeing those trauma into we're gonna pass it on like an inheritance. The cycle that we have to break, is it like a one thing cycle, or like what? Because a cycle is a very, very complex thing.
Yeah.
So like give us an example, because some might be something that was done to them while they were a child, or something they've done, something they went through, something that happened to them, either physically or verbally. So it's a lot,
Yes, but none of that should have resulted to the fact, because this is why I'm trying to fathom this, is that how four of them, they got in the car, they have the gun, knowingly that we are going to this graduation, knowingly that there's going to be a lot of people there celebrating, knowing that the security is going to be a little bit tight, and decide to go at a high school graduation and shoot up an high school graduation because maybe an up is there or somebody did something to you.
So and this is not the first time we're seeing things like that. You know what I mean?
I do, but this is why it is important, because the state that they're from, the city they're from, highly Somalian community, and I would say most of them are Muslim faith. And that's why in the last episode I was raising this concern that our community, our faith leaders need to do a lot more than just taking money. I can say that.
Offering in Christianity,
and all these things.
And that's why I'm glad you brought up the cycle. We have to the cycle is another word for the root. We have to identify the root, because when we identify the root, then we are going back to that root and then break it. We can't break it here. We have to go back to it.
The root is to empower our parents.
The root is to go backward. We have to go back. We can't go forward. We can't go forward before we go backward to break that root. So how do we go backward? What is one of the cause? Like for me and you, for instance, we can relate in a way to say our country went, like our parents went through the trauma we can at least identify will be war.
Okay.
That's one of the things we can go back, and that's why if you notice, our parents don't like us moving to different places. It's like, they went through so much, they still want that family, like, you can do what you want, but like we want you close to us.
Yeah.
That's a trauma response. And that's a harmless, depending how you go about it. We can go back to that, but like, what about it? But there's also more of those things to identify.
But I feel like we have to go back to the old school or old way of discipline.
Okay.
I feel like in this country, we have been softened the way we have to discipline.
So what is, give us an example, old school discipline?
People know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't.
Okay, old school discipline, those of you that grew up in Africa or with strict parents and all this thing, like when you like, I
get what you're saying.
Thank you, but want me to explain?
I'm saying the reason why I'm saying this. Okay, for instance, right? If I were, it's not even about discipline. If I were to criticize you right now, you have two options. There's always two options.
Yes.
And you decide which option to go. Either to accept my critics or to be defensive.
Yeah.
And that happens regardless if you have strict parents or not. Like for me, I had strict parents and they would tell me, oh, don't do this. You can't do A, B, C. I'll be angry. In my head, I want to run away. But I was too chicken to do anything. But some kids, they're too bold. They'll be like, oh, you don't want me to do this? Oh, I'll make sure I'll do it 100 times worse than what you don't want me to do. So I don't think being strict is the issue.
It is, because that's why I said this country has made it so easier for kids to disrespect their parents' rules at home, to be able to turn to the street easily.
So last episode you said it's not this country. We shouldn't blame this country.
Well, the law of this country, the recent law that have been passed regarding parenting.
Give me an example.
You cannot what's the word? You cannot
slap your child.
Slap your child, and
you
cannot discipline your child. A child can pick up a phone and dial 911 and report my parents doing this to me. That's what I felt like a lot of parents are holding back the way, because let me go back, since you mentioned that the last time I saw my pap was 10, I was at 10. But at that age, if my mom wasn't strictly responsible enough to discipline us, probably I wouldn't be sitting here. Probably a lot of my siblings wouldn't be sitting here. You see? So that's why I say it is very important to have a strict rule at home.
Do you think there's a because
Because let here is like, let's say today, if a child can say, I don't want to live with my parents anymore and all these things, the government will fund them a foster place to go stay. Where in Africa where you'll be able to go?
So I don't.
You see the difference?
I mean, kids did run away. Some became child soldiers.
Yes, but the statistic of that were really slim compared to the statistic here.
Okay. So are we gonna blame the country or not hold parents accountable?
There is a two-part way answer into that. Look at the recent statistic of the last 30 years.
No, just go. Just go 2010.
2010.
So 15 years.
15 years. And look at everything prior to that, dating back. You will see kids were more well fed, well educated, well more responsible, well more well taken care of than, and well more educated than
Where social media has a lot to do with that.
than
though.
this generation.
Social media has a lot to do with that. Also, even if you look at the mental health, if you look at the suicide rate has increased at least 1,000 since 2010, and that's when Facebook started.
Exactly.
So now, so first we were talking about parents, this country, the laws. Now social media is in it. There's more stuff.
Even if there are all this stuff or all these tools that you mentioned, a foundation of education starts at home.
So if it starts at home, why are we allowing, like the way I'm understanding you, why are we allowing the law to decide how to parent?
Why? I think it's just to speak to African parents. I think it's just the lack of the language barrier, understanding of the language, and knowing that the power that of not knowing the power that they have, because most of our African parents do not know the language English like we do. Most of us are our parents' interpreter, translator.
Yeah.
So you can see why to some parents that have never read or understand English the whole life, and in the oldest age, now they have to navigate to this language and be able to understand that. So it takes a lot for them to be able to process it. So they are turning to their kids, and the kids are manipulating all those things. So that's what I'm saying. If we empower parents to be able to provide a stronger foundation of education, starting at home, there is a higher chance of that kids becoming a better youth when they become older and they start moving into this adult age.
That's one suggestion. I have another suggestion.
Okay.
I think the problem when it comes to this parenting and the children thing is both of us want to be understood.
And that's the biggest mistake, because your child are not your friend. So
No. So, for example, you mentioned the language barrier, which means many came at a young age, and some are being born here, so all they know is here.
yeah, but
So-
education shouldn't change its form.
No, education is education. What I'm trying to say is, since they know here, they want their parents to understand them through the American lens. Like, oh, I'm behaving like this because that's the way of life here. But they do not want to understand the parents. They do not want to understand, like, why is my father or my mother behaving like this? If you ask, no, I'll give suggestion, and this has helped me a lot with my parents.
Okay.
I ask them about, I always ask them about their lives growing up, about their parents, whatever they can remember, and what they went through, what they regret, what they what they're proud of. Also, like the techniques, the approach to raising children, all those things. It's like I understand them more, even if they seem like they're tripping. I understand. I'm like, oh, that's how they, because, and that won't stop me from doing what I have to do. You know what I mean? So I think the problem between children and parents is that both sides want to be understood before understanding the other side.
Okay, I see what you're saying, Uncle.
Because you're not gonna tell your go ahead.
My thing is, as a parent, what you say, I think is a big factor. But what I'm trying to picture it, that with you is like, regardless of how many times you may have disagreed with your parents, you never disrespected them. You never run away. You never.
In my head, I did run away.
Physically,
I was too chicken. I think
you never ran away.
No.
You never turned to the straight.
I was too chicken.
You never turned to the straight.
I thought about it. I mean,
you thought about it.
Yeah, okay, I thought about it. But then this generation, like our younger siblings, they're more bold than we were. Like, I was afraid. I was like, I can't do it.
Why is that? What made you being afraid? Thinking about everything. What is that thing that made you afraid?
I think
that's the thing right there.
I think my parents did a great job.
Oh.
No, wait. Let me finish. I think my parents did a great job manipulating me.
Look at these kids.
I think they did a great job putting that fear in me. I don't know what they did.
I disagree. I disagree.
No, it was fear.
I don't think so. Exactly. That fear.
That little
that little fear that you knew.
Our younger siblings do not. Well, I don't know about your younger siblings, but like our younger siblings, like the younger generation, they don't have that fear. I remember. And this is when we were in Africa, and even when we were here.
Mm-hmm.
I remember if my dad was home, even if it was at 5 p.m., I won't get out. It would be like, where you going? I just didn't want to deal with it. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go. So if I wanted to stay out a little bit late, I would go before he gets home.
Discipline.
But then in Africa, it was different. In Africa, it was different. In Africa, was the last man, the man of the house was the last man to enter in the house.
Close the door.
So you will make sure
you are in before you walked in.
You know the time your father gets home.
Yeah, my cutoff time as a child was 8:30. At 8:30,
I didn't have a time.
At 8:30, you already shower. All your homework were completed. 8, and you are waiting after the news. Because it was the news at 8, and 8:30 they put anime, and after that.
See, you guys even had TV. With me, it was
after
very
that is bedtime.
With me, it was very unpredictable, cause it was. You get home before your father gets home, and homeboy did not have a schedule.
Still, even though it was 8:30,
even here,
and that's what I told you, that like the education part of that, it
I don't
is
think it was
important.
education,
No,
bro.
it
I
was.
think it was just a pure fear.
Because put it this way, in my regard, it was that our dad, mom, and the older siblings. It kind of go from that. And if mom wasn't there, if dad wasn't there, is mom. If mom wasn't there, is the oldest one. And if the oldest one is not, the second in line. So it followed that chain of commands. Okay, and that's why I said that the education portion of that, to lay a foundation of that, I can be who I am today, that contributed to all of that. Because if you have given them from early on a softer foundation, they will walk over you. They will not respect your authority at home, because at no point that I remember until I got to this country, there was a single day that my dad left. He came home, anybody came after him.
And my dad would tell me the same story about him
Same
with
thing.
his parents.
Exactly. My mom would leave. By the time she's back home, everybody's already inside.
So
Because as soon as she's walking in, it's a locked door. Whoever say outside, you have to find a way to sleep. And you cannot go to a neighbor, or you cannot go anywhere.
okay, and I'm personally, I'm very glad and happy I was able to experience both world, so Africa and here.
I think the foundation never changed. The foundation is the foundation.
No, not really, because
Yes.
well, one,
And with a lot of the youth we are seeing today, a lot of these things they're doing is a lack of foundation structure.
I don't think it's a foundation. So okay, for example, right? You what about that? Those same siblings with no foundation, but they have older siblings with foundation. What is that?
That's what this is how I will say this. There, over this country has given. Are we talking about
I
here?
don't
or
think the
we talk-
problem is the country.
No, the problem is that this country has given us a reason to say that I am busy focusing on my individual life, my individual issues and stuff, and your issue is no longer my issue.
So like those are the parents saying that to the kids, or
I believe that also contribute to that. And also we have a lot of youth becoming auto parenting them own self. Both parent will be focusing like, man, we got a mortgage, like,
I mean,
I-
it's
I
true.
have-
They got a mortgage.
yeah, we have to work and pay all this bill, and you take care of your sibling and all these things. And this person had all this freedom.
There
to
are
say-
those that there are those. So I'm gonna keep going back to the roots, because there's two. Like I keep saying, there's two options. There are those that misuse that freedom, it violate that freedom,
Mhm.
and there are those that are very responsible with that freedom. What is the difference between the two?
The difference between the two are the one want to carry the whole country, the whole United States on their back. The other want the country to carry them.
Which one is which?
I would take the one that want the country to carry them. And I think that's the one we came out of that.
Like we want the country to carry us. What does
Yeah.
that mean?
It means that we know we are here. We are going to do the right thing. We're going to allow ourselves not to get play into all this game. We're going to do the right thing, get educated.
But let me.
What?
You know
But
what?
those
I'm
who
gonna
want to-
call. I'm
those who
gonna
want
call us
to-
out. I'm gonna call us out. You know why?
Why?
Because we can't see here like. Okay, I'm not gonna go that route. But let's say,
Okay.
what about the mistakes we made throughout? Because you can't tell me.
We
You
made
can't tell
mistakes.
me that we were on the right path.
Okay.
And just because we're not in prison, just because we're not substance abuse and all those other things, it doesn't mean we got our lives together. What does that mean?
Okay, I'm glad you brought it up, but this is what I'm trying to say is that we are not perfect. We have our moment, we have our time. For example, high school days, there was a lot of things that we didn't care. We were reckless in high school to certain degrees.
There's still that little fear in us.
Exactly.
Okay, what about those of our generation that did not have that fear? What do you think is the difference?
The
between-
difference between them and our generation that did not.
No, it's the same generation.
Okay, no.
The same generation.
Listen to what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying. The difference between, because now I'm dividing two separate, the same generation to two different phases. Between that our generation, those who got into the system, I will use that word, the judicial system, okay, and those of us who did not get into that judicial system, is that some of us, we have that fear and we did not.
Is it because we never got in trouble? Or is it because
No.
we never got caught?
No, I think it was just that. I think I'll put it this way. I think it was more self-conscious that we came from somewhere.
So it's one's responsibility.
Yes, because I'll tell you what. Okay, after high school. Okay, I'm not gonna say name, but maybe you just figure it out or not.
Oh, you can tell me when we turn this off.
Exactly. I started hanging out with maybe people that we watch them and know the story. I started hanging out with certain group of guys. We were going out, clubbings and all these things. And around that group, guess what started passing around? Weed started passing around.
You mean medicine?
Okay. We started passing around. Me knowing that I don't smoke, I never smoke. When these things start getting passing around, and also one thing that I was also and I don't like getting sick. There was this fear of tuberculosis in my head. Like when we start passing all these things, what if somebody has a tuberculosis right here? And I get
that's good.
And I cut that and I go back home and expose my whole family to that. That was my thing. And I was like, when it came my turn, I was like, pass.
So with me in that same situation, with me, I never like the aftertaste. I never
And
like
also the smell.
it. I didn't have a problem with the smell, but then the smell. So aftertaste, one. Second is the smell, but like in paranoia. Like I was always paranoia, and I was like, I do not like this feeling at all. And then when it goes to the liquid stuff, the holy water that you like, the moment I taste it, I never like anything about the taste. So I was like, I'll stick with water and diabetes.
The holy
sodas.
water. I don't share my glass of bottles with anybody.
You need to stop.
No, this is what I've said because that was also part of my understanding. Okay, because I think it was just. This is why I keep going back to fatherhood. The seed that you plant to your kids from early on, it will outgrow and it will play in the head when they are faced in front of a situation. Because everything I told you, mind that my pops was in the government and all these things, put everything. So, as from early on, he was telling us things. When you're among people, you left your glass, come back, ask for a new one. You leave something unopened, done. Things like that. This is how you move. And all those things play into my head. And when I was faced among all those people, like, oh, okay,
You know what to do.
I know what to do. Like, I don't know, among all those people, somebody can already be,
Yeah.
and that was his mission to
take-
take you out.
Yeah, and I
And
think
that, when I was at that moment, it played into my head. Like, oh, okay, no, I'm gonna ditch. I'm not gonna get into all these things. I may have my holy water open. Okay, poo. Oh,
but what if what
I'd rather
about
get a new one.
what about those that had those conversations but still
I think at that
Don't like the
moment
feeling.
it became their own stupidness.
it's not stupidness. I think is a response to something.
Or
The
a
root,
response-
remember the
or a
root?
response to fit in.
That's one of them. Peer pressure is one of them.
Exactly.
Peer pressure is one of them, but also it might be pain that was caused to them.
I don't know, Uncle Chi. I completely disagree with.
We have to go back to the root. If we're gonna get rid of the tree, we have to the roots.
Yeah, it's a complex situation, but
Exactly.
if I have to speak to our generation of these years, or I mean of this generation, especially from 2010, for those of us that made it, I would say that
I don't feel like I made it. I'm alive.
no. Okay, we need. When
No,
we say
because-
made it, it doesn't mean that we have become billionaire. No. It means we made it like out of our childhoodness, like early youth, like that teen year and all these things. We are over that and we have now more responsibility.
We still need money. We still need money.
You gonna still need money until the day you leave this world. But all I'm saying that
Well, the hope is not
those
to
of
need-
us who
need
made
money.
it from the teens, high school, college, and after that, like, and all these things, like, we made an important progress to
Okay.
achieving a peaceful life.
Okay.
That's why when I said those of us who made it.
Okay. So. Okay.
So those of us who made it,
Mhm.
I believe we have something special that we can turn back and put pressure on our community leaders, to the fathers in the community, by being like, things are not going well in this community. Things are not going the way it's supposed to go, because you guys at some point give up your role of leader or father, of the leader of the community. And that's why we are seeing all these youth are tuning and finding hope, I can say, or finding pleasure in all those unnecessary stuff.
I think
Are we still in track? Or I'm all over places?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Wherever you are, I'm there with you.
Okay.
I think our parents have done
A
Our-
better job.
our parents, the leaders of the churches and the community,
Mm.
they have done their best, because if you say that you made it, you are proud of where you are right now, it doesn't mean that you were in the class of your own.
No.
That parenting structure, that community structure, there were other people that had this, that were in the same class as you, but it was a different route. So it was not, it's not up to the parents, it's not up to the community leaders to like, they say what they've said, they done what they've done.
Okay.
Because we cannot put this pressure on them only and not take responsibility of ourselves.
The problem that we have today is that we allow evilness to become the norm. To become the norm of our way of life. We allow wicked to become the way of our life. And that is why we are struggling with all these things. Because it is important. Look in the earliest day, there was this class of African leaders who were educating us, our parents' generation, how to be a leader of the community, of the country, and all these things. Like those were the year of Lumumba, Kwame, and all those.
And we killed them.
Exactly. But all I'm just saying, if you look at the difference, the message they were giving out compared to the message our youth are receiving today, you can balance it. There's no match. And that is why.
But those are the same parents you're saying that are failing. They're from that generation.
Not from that generation.
It's same age. It's same age.
But
like my father tells me about the story about the colonization time.
Mhm.
Like they will come and take your chicken, talk about they taking it to Muzungu.
This is why
So it's their generation. So if I'm gonna say, oh, that time, I'm saying my parents failed.
they did not fail.
They did not.
No, they did not.
But you're saying that parents failed. I'm saying
Today's parents,
our generation
your
and the
parents
prior
did not-
generation and the future generation, we need to understand about.
you are twisting everything. I feel like you are twisting everything.
Yeah.
Because I feel like what you're trying to do is you are trying to pen me as the bad guy and you try to be the nice. I see. I'm glad I catch that earlier. I can clarify that. But we all know, and a lot of people are going to agree with me. Today's generation, they are too weak-minded.
Too weak.
They cannot sustain any adversity that comes their way. They cannot deal with a situation as adult, as a man, and to say, let's talk about it instead of driving and get a machine gun to go resolve a problem.
But
You know, there's a favorite scene, my favorite scene in the movie Friday. Ice Cube, when he faced Debo, and Ice Cube put up a gun on Debo, and what did Ice Cube dad told him?
What?
He
I've
says,
never seen the movie. I'm kidding.
he says, son, give me that gun. You don't need it. A real man will stand up in his 2 feet and hold this. This is the best weapon that you can handle, and that. And if you watch that movie, we all know like it's a movie, but at that moment, if Ice Cube would have put up a gun, probably the moral to the story would have been different, right? It will be
True.
present and all these things. But what happened when he fought with his 2 hands and 2 feet? He beat him.
And he got a break. He used a weapon. It was just a different weapon.
All I'm saying, at least the whole community laughed at Debo, who's the Goliath. You got beat by a little bro. And
So-
that was, I just want to give that. The way that I feel like a lot of this situation that happened in our community could have been resolved
But
by the way of
that-
talking, by the way of choosing the right.
Spani, I know you're gonna brush it off again. I'm gonna say this again. What is the root? Because this retaliation using a gun did not start with our generation, did not start
But
with, it's not gonna end.
So what are you suggesting? Should we not talk about it and just keep
No.
allowing that to happen?
No, I'm saying
And
we
that's
need to identify the root
The
cause
root
of
is-
it.
The root is when I was a child growing up in the street of Africa, when a fight
There was a street called Africa.
in the street of Africa, don't name a country, okay? When a fight broke out, we will fight with our bare hands.
Like the article you brought up, right? Those
Yeah.
four teenagers that got arrested because they shot a group of people. Is that the first time it happened? Is that the first time you heard drive-by
In our community,
in the
No, 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 no,
country
no, no,
of
no.
America?
I'm talking about in our community. When was the last time you heard about that? In our community, the African community.
That's a really, really good question.
When was the last time you heard about that?
But then is the influence, buddy? That's why I keep saying the root. The root, the root,
And-
the root.
and
What is
that
the
is
cause?
why to
What is the
prevent-
cause? Let's blame America for influencing those children for that. It's just a scenario. Let's blame America for influencing them that. Why were they influenced by America?
Lack of home leadership and lack of proper
And why is there lack of home leadership?
because probably I'll assume that the parents are probably old, tired, and they have to focus more on try to make money, pay their mortgages and all these things, and they leave out no responsibility or no irresponsible adult to look after those younger ones when they go to school, when they come back at home. Maybe that could be the root cause of that. And that's why they got
we're on the
exposed
same
to
page
that.
now. We get it. Root.
So that's why they may get exposed to that. All I'm saying, Uncle
So
T,
how do we prevent that? How do we prevent?
that?
How do we bring back leadership? Because I have an issue with bringing back anything because it's not like it's not like it ever worked. There's always that balance.
We need to go back to the old way.
What is the old way?
The old one when pop, mom say no is no, when yes is no.
You can still do the same thing.
It's today's generation. That's why.
No,
That's
you
why I keep
cannot blame.
saying.
You cannot blame today's generation.
That's why I keep saying it is really little bit hard on parents, and that's why I keep bringing this burden up on our community leader and our religious faith. They have a big platform, and they have they have the influence to be able to influence the whole congregation, the whole mosque, the whole population, the whole community. They have that, and they have to be able to have classes or meeting. I think last episode I mentioned like what happened to the fathers group, what happened to the mothers group, or what happened to this leadership group and all these
Remember
know?
the church organization back in Africa?
things.
If a pastor of a church is a pastor, he did not have a job. That was his whole that was like he
His
dedicated his
his
whole life
life
to that.
to that ministry.
It's not the same now. They have their own children that they have to worry about. They have their own bills to worry about. You guys do not want to give offerings. No, so I think the leaders have done their part. We owe the
Not
responsibility. No, we cannot put all these responsibilities on them as if they don't have their own responsibilities.
All all I'm saying is that
It is up to my generation, the next
No,
generation.
our generation's already messed up.
No, wait, messed up. Unless you're dead, you still have a chance.
I don't know, because look at the statistic, bro.
We can still come back. And here's the trick about this country. The trick is a lot of us are being biased about America. We think now, don't get me wrong, America is the greatest country in the world.
Okay.
Personally, I believe that. We have refused to see the other side of America. Because this America will give you whatever you choose. If you decided to pick up a gun, it will give it to you. If you decide to pick up a gun in Africa, my friend, unless you have all kind of connection, you won't be able to get it. If you decide to pick up any substance, if you decide to fall into any addiction, this country provides everything. So it's like, man, this is like, the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
But then it's like we are confused because of what we went through. We went through so much trauma, especially our parents. All the wars, I don't know, like you guys came at the old age, you might remember certain things.
Oh Lord.
But it's like they went through so much, struggle. It's like you come to America, you're like, man, it's so it becomes tricky most of the time to see that there's also a bad side. It's not paradise yet. I think that's the issue. People have kids, especially our generation, have been confused. There's a lot of confusion.
The thing they're putting inside the body, that's why it's making them die.
What is making them die?
The thing they've been smoking and drinking and all this.
It's available. I mean, in Africa, it's available. But I heard about weed when I was in Africa, but I never seen weed in Africa. But today, I'm like the first state to legalize marijuana. Now, there's some good stuff about it, according to the doctors, if you follow the doctor's instructions. But it's available anywhere. You know what I mean? It's like you cannot escape it. So, and it's so easy. That's why kids with the confusion I call it the identity crisis. When we do not, when you are so confused of who you are and what the purpose of your life is, whatever is easily accessible, that's what you're gonna go for. So I don't think our leaders have done enough. I will stand behind them. I think is
I'm
time.
not bashing them though. I'm not bashing them.
You're saying that they're not doing enough. There's
They
nothing
need
they
to
haven't
keep
done.
doing more.
I'm sure they keep doing more. It's funny.
That is the price they decide to carry. They cannot give up. They have to continue.
I'm sure they are continuing, and they are doing.
It's not looking good because the result and it's not looking well.
That doesn't mean they're not doing anything. It's
They
like
have
saying,
to keep
it's
doing
like
more.
saying,
They have to keep pushing.
but it's like saying all these is happening because there's not a good God. Like a good God doesn't exist. That's why all the evil exists.
Nah, I'm not saying that.
No, that because you're saying the bad outweigh the good.
Yes, big time.
That doesn't mean the good leaders are not doing their jobs.
Oh Lord, have mercy in this community. Upon our generation.
Why do you care about this? Never mind.
I feel like our generation, because if you look at the number, before it used to be that our parent buried our grandparents. But that's no longer the case in our generation. It's
And-
not our parent are burying us, and we are leaving our parent.
And that's funny because our parents are the one, like our parents' generation are the ones complaining about all kind of sickness.
Where are you going with this, Okochi?
No, I'm agreeing with you. They are complaining about all kind of sickness, but they still outliving us.
Exactly. So,
It is our responsibility.
and that's why I'm being this urge on our generation to do better, to improve the quality of our life.
How do we do
to-
better?
Okochi,
How do we
to
do better?
improve the quality
How
of
do
our
we-
life,
How do we
to
improve
improve
the quality of
the
our
way
lives?
we eat healthy, the way we exercise, the way we take care of our mental health, our mental well-being, and the way we move, the way we approach things, the way we build our community, the way we build, we educate ourselves, all those things. That's why I'm pushing hard for us to do better,
You know,
not to just give up. No, because you can, like, there's a lot, especially for the African community, the African youth. Our parents have tried their best. They got us here. Land of opportunity, land of free. Like, it is here in our hand. 18 years old, bro. Apply, get a scholarship, go to college, becoming somebody. And you are now trapped. And you see the same thing here in Colorado. You see in Minnesota, every state. Like, what's happening? And tomorrow, we are asking ourselves, like, no, you stop blaming your parents, stop blaming this. But we have the opportunity to say, no, I'm not going to be part of whatever you guys get. Hey, that's what you guys do. Go ahead. Let me go do this here. Like, I heard there's a book club over here. I heard there's economy or finance class over here. There's an entrepreneurship class here. Like, I'm not, let me figure out what's going on over here. And all these things, you aim for something bigger instead of getting caught up into this criminal justice system. And is like a chain that you wear on your leg, like when the master chain you up and you never get enough.
That's a good point you brought up. Go back to my root. When did they put that chain? You know, I know you're talking about metaphorically, but I wanna know, when did they put that chain? Because it's all here. It's all here. Back to the root. How do we break that?
How do we break that? Read more books. Stay in your
Like
house.
100 books.
Talk to your parent. Stay home. Stay home. Enjoy the time you have with your family bonding. Like, do all those things. There's nothing out on the street that how we get rather than being home with my family. There's nothing out there for me. I rather sit there every single day. My kids, my wife are looking at what's the point?
I think the issue is really, really big, and we need to identify the cause of all these things, because I believe
the issue is we need to look each other in the eye and tell the truth. Parent, know your role of a parent, and a child, when they messed up, discipline them. That's all I'm just saying, because it seems like parent, we shouldn't be friends or best friend with our kids. We shouldn't. There has to be a different level. And too often, even with some of the older adults in the community, you see the kids, the way the kids are talking to them, and you look like, is that your kids talking to you that way? And saying, like, you ask yourself, like, when was the last time I talked to my bro? You see what I'm saying? All those things, it contribute to that. I'm saying, when your kid, because everything started from small and it become a big fire, Uncle T. Nobody's just to there jumping and boom. No, it started small by small.
That's what I'm saying.
And
I think
you
on
don't
the
put
same
the
page.
fire out from the first one, that's what I'm saying.
How do you identify where to put the fire out?
You cannot tell me a child is smarter than the parent, bro.
No, I'm saying with those that are grown where the parents cannot discipline them. Because you're saying that's the foundation with the parenting. As they grow where the parents are not able to do anything, now is your response. There's an age where you get where you do not use, like, I wanna be careful. I wanna be careful.
All I'm saying.
No, Spani, I wanna be careful.
Okay.
There's the age you reach where you do not have the privilege to use your trauma as an excuse to be a horrible person.
You talk about the parents or the
No,
child?
I'm saying the child.
Okay.
There's an age you reach where my parents never did it. There's an age you reach where it is your responsibility to figure out what went wrong. How do I work through it?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the one I want us to talk to.
Well, I can say this based on what you just said, and that's why I keep going back to the parents part. From an early age, if you educate your kid, you discipline them well enough, you fed them, you train them, you prepare them for the future. By the time they become an adult, you will not have to worry so much about them not making it out there in the world. And the thing that we see today is that our parents are making the kids become, or today's parent, I cannot say our parent because our parent has, today's parent are making the child become their friend, their best friend. And that is why it's killing this today's generation. Because how can you discipline someone who sees you no longer as a parent, no longer as a father, no longer as a mother, but as a friend? Oh, I'm friend with my kids. Oh, I do text. My kid knows everything about me. My kid knows who I'm dating. My kid knows who I'm going out to. No, that is what's the problem with today's parenting today. Your kid is not supposed to be your friend. You and your kid cannot be dressed and look alike. No. You cannot be going to a club with your kids. No. You and your kid cannot be, cannot be doing the same kind of interest. No. You and your kids are out there in the middle of the street fighting. No. You cannot do that as a parent. That's unacceptable. That's a failure right there as a parent if you are in that mindset or in that way of life. You cannot. A parent's place is here, a child place is here. Even in Christianity, the Bible mentioned that. The Bible mentioned that. So why is today becoming a norm of parents kicking it with their kids, going out with their kids? We go shopping together. I pick up your clothes. I pick up this and all. What? That is abnormal. That's why I'm saying this again. African parents, listen to me carefully. Your child is not your friend. Is not your best friend. No matter how tall, how big they are over you. They are your child. You are the parent. And God will judge you severely. Oh, that's my camera. God will judge you severely. That's what I have to say. Get out of this mindset that this is my friend. No. Your child are not your friend. My kids are not my friend. They are my child. They messed up, I disciplined them. They know that dad is daddy. That's the foundation I'm talking about. And we start doing that, we will start having a better result for the little generation that's going to become next. Right, Uncle Chi.
What about the children?
Which children? Which
You say
generation?
about the parents and the parenting. What about the children?
Educate your kids. Discipline your kid.
No. You're going back to the parents. What about the children?
Children, learn to respect your parent. Learn to be obedient to your parent. And learn to listen to your parent. The word of God mentioned that. I believe is in Deuteronomy, if not somewhere in Levitic, those two verses. And even say that you respect your parent, you honor your parent, you will live longer. If you don't do it, dead. Most of us usually assume when the scripture talk about death, we talk about physical death. It is not. Spiritually, financially, financially, all those things die on you. All those things that's supposed to make you be a living soul die and dry up, and now you are nothing. Everything you try to do is not working because you break that source of blessing by disrespecting your parent, by not listening to them, by breaking all these rules that your parent is supposed to be the foundation. That's supposed to be a foundation for your blessing, for your continuation, your roof to extend. It dry up. So, and that's why when I do the crossover with that verse right there, and with parent, there also a part where it mentioned parents' role towards their kids as well. And that's why I keep saying parent to go back to those rules and check themselves and see how they are living with their kids and make that correction. Once you are able to differentiate that, I'm a parent, my kids are here, then you will know when that gap is bridged. You cannot be here, I cannot be here, regardless how much money you make. Man.
You know, the elders in the community, they used to tell me, some of them used to tell me, have a vision.
Amen.
Have a vision. Now, I still have my vision.
Now you have a family vision.
I have a huge vision. So they would tell me, have a vision and write it down, and evaluate yourself, and evaluate everything that is surrounding you. And then if anything that is not beneficial, anything that won't bring anything to your vision, because you have to be selfish. You're going to judge all the surrounding based on your vision.
Amen. And
If
go ahead.
if it doesn't relate, if it won't bring anything to your vision, then there's no point of it being in your life. Every year, this is what I do. Every year I have a book. I have a notebook where, like, especially with friends, like anybody that I know or anybody that I have in my life, I check anybody and everybody. What does this person bring to the table? Like, what do I like? How do they help me to build myself?
Yeah.
You know, they're different things, different areas of your life. And if I evaluate, like, you know, there's nothing you bring to the table, I'm not gonna.
So those of you who are watching and listening,
I'm not gonna.
This is Uncle Chi's way of telling you that if you don't be hearing from him anymore, it means you sleep off on the bottom of the list.
But sometimes the other people might be the one doing it to me. I might not be bringing anything to their table, and they'll cut me off. I'm sure some people have cut me off because I don't bring anything to the table, and that's fine.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
But that's why, because we can't be wasting time anymore. You know what I mean?
Especially at this age we are
You know,
getting right now, bro. We are a couple years from 40 though.
You are closer to 40 than I am.
So what are you trying to say, nigga?
You are older than me.
But you just remind me I'm getting old. Maybe that's why I'm been speaking this way lately.
Getting old means wise.
It's a blessing.
But yes, it is a blessing. But yeah, that's what I want to say. I think there are things, man, like the way this life is and the way this life is
And
set
it's
up.
moving fast.
You can't be wasting time.
You can
Especially with people,
on
man.
unnecessary stuff.
Especially with people.
Because
majority of time, all these things that we're talking about, our generation, the next generation, the previous generation, the most influential is the most influential thing to our life decision, our daily life decision, majority of time is our environment.
Yes, big time.
So
Big
until
time.
we identify the vision that we want to have in life, we always gonna go back.
That's
to
why you have to be the president of the Burundian community next.
my friend.
Amen. So this has been a special segment of Nyuki Podcast, and on Father's Day edition, and the trauma that we continue to face on our community. Thank you.
Peace.